Every student deserves to graduate college and or career ready, and we need to have the highest standards for all of our students. Several years ago, there was a study that recognized the over-identification of our Black students and minorities in ESE programs. I'm sorry to say that that's continuing. We do have a new ESE director, and I'm hoping that that's going to change the course for those students. But we need to have a rigorous curriculum for all students. We need to have counselors at each school to be able to further work with these students. We need to make sure that we're recruiting the best possible teachers to work in all of our schools and our underperforming schools and our Title I schools, so that every single student walks across that stage knowing where they're going and having all the possibilities open to them. Thank you.
And if you need me to repeat the question, I can do that.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of parts of Achievement Matters for All that I'm very excited about, and I can't wait to support when I'm on the board. But the one I'm going to talk to you about really quickly is about parental involvement. I think parental involvement is very important and key to our student success. I think that when we expect our children to do well in school, we can only do that with the family structure surrounding them. So I think that what we need to do is we need to work harder on making sure that each parent feels welcomed and engaged in their child's education. And this is something that I will work for each day that I'm on the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
My experience in the classroom is this, that a lot of the time students come into our schools and they simply lack equal resources. Some students come in with a family that has more money. Some students come in with a family that is cohesive and still has two parents. These differences or these variables, we can't control them, but what we can control in the school is the support staff to try to assist these students who come in with certain disadvantages. I know that a teacher can volunteer their time only so much. It's my opinion, and the school district has looked into this and started to implement these types of policies, but we need to go a step further. We need more tiers of support. Multi-tiered support systems is something the school district's looking into to try to make sure that disadvantaged students that come into our system are given additional resources and support to try to make up for the gaps that they have in their personal life or their home life that might put them at a disadvantage to other students. So I'm a huge advocate of trying to make sure that we have individuals working in our schools that assist these students who come in with the most needs to try to make sure that they can have the education that's just as good as any other student in our schools.
Equity is important for all. I can tell you after 4 years, I've made a difference when it comes to equity. When I was elected a District 6 school board member, I assessed the needs of our facilities in District 6. I saw 3 schools that needed to be demolished. It wasn't fit for a child to be in to learn. According to our school board and my leadership, we were able to build not 1, not 2, but 3 new schools for those buildings that were not suitable for learning for students in the Glades area. That was done. Secondly, I believe in the curriculum and getting monies to put curriculum in place to meet the needs of all students. This is why I work with the school board and the legislature. I'm the legislative rep for the school board to work with our legislators to get more money. And secondly, the teacher. It's truly important to have the best teacher in the classroom. For 20 years, I worked in recruitment and retention, serving as the chief of human resources, recruiting at historical Black colleges,
And your time is
and
up.
getting the best for our students. Thank you.
I agree with Ms. Andrews on the quality of facilities being important, one of the considerations for student achievement. Under my leadership, certainly with a lot of help from staff, during my tenure with the school district, we rebuilt or built new 94 schools. About half of those were rebuilding the oldest schools in the urban areas, many of them in this area. And so the quality of the facilities was brought up to par throughout the district, not just in the areas that were growing with new students. We added facilities at all of the mid-age schools, like Palm Beach Lakes High School. We added auditoriums and other facilities, career academies, to ensure that they were equal to the new schools being built throughout the county. The other component that I would look hard at is, again, quality of the teacher in the classroom. I think that it's time for the district to tackle differentiating the teacher pay to reward teachers that will serve in the most
And your time is up.
at-risk schools, just like the principals are doing.
It's accountability and it's expectations. You go to some schools and the expectations of the students are not there for any of them. Because where they live, what schools they attend, you go to another school and the expectation is every child in that second grade class will graduate 10 years later. It's expectations, it's goals, it's a plan, it's what you want for every child. And it should not matter what school you're in, what neighborhood you're from, or really what your parents do, what your income is for the family. It's expectations from the day you enter kindergarten or preschool to the day you graduate. And everyone should have the exact same across the board, across the county.
Achievement does matter to all, and what we have to get back to is what I alluded to further. We have to get back to the point where we have a consistent curriculum, a curriculum that meets the needs of all of our students, a curriculum that teaches the foundational skills of reading and writing and arithmetic. The problem is that we have gotten away from teaching the foundations and the basics. We've got to make sure that I have our parents empowered. Our parents need to be trained. They're crying out for workshops and seminars on how to be better parents. They want to know, how can I teach this new math? We've got to make sure that we have workshops and seminars ready for them. And again, we want to talk about our teachers being allowed to be able to teach again, not getting a curriculum that's dictated to them that tells them how to teach, when to teach, what to teach. We need a curriculum within the structure of the school system that allows teachers to be able to teach again instead of being dictated to as to how to teach. Our teachers are professionals. They've been trained to teach. Allow them to do what it is they need to do.
You old school education advocates in the audience know what Achievement Matters for All is. Achievement Matters for All was a document that was created by the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. The original document is in my old dusty computer at home. It was presented to the then superintendent and her leadership team and adopted by the school board as board policy in 1999. It was a 50-something step plan to improve the academic performance of Black students in Palm Beach County. Now, the answer to the question is I fully support Achievement Matters for All. There's some language in there that's outdated. It refers to the high school competency test, which is outdated, but I fully support it. It actually has been the foundation of my advocacy as a board member. There's many steps in there that are in place moving forward. There's some that are stagnant, but we are now looking at revising Achievement Matters for All, updating it,
And your
putting
time is up.
benchmarks in it, and I fully support it. Thank you.
In terms of Achievement for All, there's one piece that I don't think anyone's brought up here, and that is that we are sorely lacking Black administrators. It's one thing to have teachers, but we also have to have Black administrators. What I would liken that to is in the NFL, how many Black coaches do we have? It's a very similar concept. So if we want to really get Achievement for All, we need to hire more Black administrators. I think you'll see the Black community rise when that happens.
It's very important and very critical for you as an individual, as a human being, as a fellow traveler on this planet Earth, that you investigate what is known as Achievement Matters for All. It's a part of the business academic plan for the school district of Palm Beach County. It's an agreement between the NAACP, the Urban League, the Tabernacle, all of our churches, all of our homes. You're already a part of that.
Why are people poor?
Well, that's a very good question because I actually grew up much poorer than most people would think. I grew up in a home with 2 disabled parents who got divorced, and it was just a matter of my parents being disabled and not being able to provide for us at the time. People are poor for many reasons. Some of it, a lot of it is circumstantial. For instance, my parents being disabled. Some of it is environmental. It's where they live and it's being oppressed by the people around them. But I can tell you that as a person who has had and had not, and for my children who have had and had not, that being poor is no excuse for us not providing an education, and everybody should take control of their lives. You've got to grasp your life and you've got to rise above it. I rose above it. I couldn't afford college when I was young. I got my bachelor's degree as a single working mother. I also went back to school for my master's degree. I couldn't afford it when I was young. But I rose above it, I found a way, and I'm 57 years old now, and I only paid off my college loans 2 years ago, thank you.
I think this is a very complex question with a lot of different answers to it. And when you really look at why people are poor, there's many answers. But two of them I think that should be brought to the forefront tonight. The first one is healthcare. I think healthcare is a big part of this. I am not really sure why we tie our healthcare to employment. It drives me crazy because as soon as somebody is not able to work anymore, it's generally because they're too ill and they can't do it anymore. So why should the ill people who aren't able to work not be able to have health care? That's exactly when you need it. The second reason I believe in this country is our minimum wage is way too low. It's something that I think just speaks to our inability to believe that everyone deserves to have an ability to take care of themselves. And if we can raise the minimum wage, I believe that would do it. So really tying back into both of those, I think that looking at it from a collective, I believe that we need to be able to raise the minimum wage, and we're going to work on increasing health care for all. Thank you.
Well, what I can say definitively is that I know as a teacher, the only thing that can truly solve the problem of poverty in this country is a proper education. The only thing that can set people free from poverty are skills and an education that will allow them to rise up the ladder and progress through society and then be able to pass on skills and education and wealth to their next generation. So as far as the causes of poverty, there could be any number of them, but I know the true solution as a teacher to poverty in this country is a better educated population, a better educated youth, that each generation can then again elevate and pick up the next generation coming up behind them. That used to be the American dream, that you could go and work hard and get an education or learn a skill, and then you could lead a great life and then pass that on to your next generation, your children. And I feel like we need to restore the ability of everyone to get a proper education in this country, and that's the only way to combat poverty in Palm Beach County.
Your time is up, Mr. Katz.
I have been poor, and I still feel that you feel poverty everywhere you go when somebody else is poor. When I tell you I lived on Tamarind in Pleasant City when I grew up here in West Palm Beach, you know I know what it's like to be poor. But it goes back to education. It goes back to lack of jobs. It goes back to not electing the right people to represent you so that you can get opportunities. It goes back to educating our parents and being familiar with our community and taking care of our children. All of those things that when they're neglected, it allows people to be poor. West Tech Center in Belle Glade sat vacant for 11 years with a 40% unemployment. People were poor. Now we've opened that facility up for training, for construction skills, for other skills, for young people, for older people, so that we can eliminate poverty. But lots of times poverty exists because people plan for that. We must work against it.
It's a complex question, but I agree that, I would say that the two things that come to mind most immediately are access to opportunity and access to good quality education. And certainly we know that access to opportunity leads to life experiences, good jobs, those kinds of things. But the foundation of that, I think, is good quality education, and that's twofold. It's what you learn, but it's also who you meet while you're going through that education. We all have had strong teachers in our background that have become mentors in life, and I think all of us can look back and say, because we had this teacher or that teacher, it shaped our lives, and we took a little different path. That certainly is my case. So I would say those two things are the most important components to